look at us. It's Rabbi Son. It is a hot takes on news, pop culture, and of course religion. I'm Rabbi Patrick, and this is the Son.
Yeah,
this is Javon.
That's not how the intro goes.
Well, it's been a while since we've done video. So, Javon, what have you been up to that you're willing to tell the viewing audience?
Well, I've been in the wilderness of Vermont, leading, the next generation forward, teaching them all there is to be taught. And realistically, no, I was working at a summer camp in Vermont, Camp Dream. It works with, underprivileged kids and give them the opportunity to, take a break from their lives and, have I'm gonna say escape for lack of better words, for a week, a little over a week, and, gives them an experience that they will otherwise not have, if the dream wasn't a reality.
Yeah. So you were there for what, 2 months? Something like that?
2.5.
2.5.
2.5. Because I got there early.
Yeah.
And just messed around. And then we actually had, staff training and then, actual camp.
Right. So, what was your experience like? Did you like it?
Oh, no, I did like it. It was tough. You're dealing with kids, from lower income homes. They have, we serve kids with, behavioral... I don't want to say...
Needs.
Yeah, behavioral needs.
Yeah.
So, it was a learning experience. Training can only do so much. So,
right.
It was more so you actually had, work.
Yeah.
And then, as you went on, you learned new stuff,
Did this give you any kind of thoughts on, because you're Gen Z, were there any thoughts that you had about Gen Alpha, as a generation, working with these young kids?
They were pretty regular.
Yeah.
They like their phones. They didn't get to have those the whole time, so... Yeah, some of these kids have never been away from home, which, I don't think most of, the older generations, they've at least spent, time away from home. Whether it's just a night, a couple nights, at your grandparents' house, at your cousin's house, somewhere.
Sure.
But, some of these kids have never, spent time away from home, for that long of a time.
Right.
And, they only got, their parents could call, but, only had, breakfast, lunch, dinner. So, it was, they didn't have that, my parents are always here and I can always, call them when I need something.
Was this true of, because you had a different, kind of an age range. Was it as true for little kids as it was for older kids, or did the age didn't matter?
It would depend on the kid.
Okay.
Because some of the kids have been coming there for, years.
Okay.
And some of the kids, this is their first time.
Right.
Or, their second time, but, they still weren't ready for camp.
Right.
They still weren't ready.
So, would you give any advice to parents, about the camp experience or what? Obviously, these kids had gone through some stuff, so it's a little bit of a different crowd, but would you give any, advice for parents who are thinking about sending their kids to camp, or maybe kids who are going to go to camp?
I would say for parents, I think if they got time, spend time away from you, for, an extended, period of time, then that would be, help them much better, getting to that, space where, they're not going to see you every day. They're not going to really talk to you, all the time. You're not going to always be around. So I think, actually letting them have time away from home, I feel would be better. For kids, for the kids, the kids who were homesick, they just needed to, be, validated. Yeah, I get that you're feeling sad, you're not home, you miss your parents, and then, just think about all of, the positive stuff that you've been doing. Keep their mind off of, the sadness of not being home. And, switch it to, well, what have you liked about camp so far?
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Was that one of the trainings that you had?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just always focus on the positive.
Yeah. I mean, validate their feelings, but then
Right.
try to redirect course. So what's the positive thing? Like, do you have friends? Like, how you enjoying camp? Are you enjoying the activities? Like, and stuff like that.
This is kind of a tangent, but we're coming up on high holidays as of the recording of this. And so much of it is like reflecting back on the past year and whatever. And I had a friend of mine, a clergy friend of mine, say, you know what? You should think about the things that you did wrong in the previous year and how you want to fix that. But it's also okay to delight in the positive. So there is kind of a sense of validate the feelings of, yeah, I could have done better. But what's one positive thing? Like, what's one good thing that came out of the year? What's one good thing? What have you enjoyed so far about camp? Yeah, that's a nice balance. Yeah, I like it. Very cool. All right, well, now that we're done with all the nice stuff, let's get down to the shade that's, been going on. This is a little bit of Rabbi and Son Reacts. So here we go. So this one talking about Jewish families. This is from Nama Devine, or Divine. Actually, I know who this person is. She is a sort of a punk hardcore musician. So the quote, white presenting Jewish family, ... We're not quote unquote white like white people. Thoughts? Are Jews white?
Am I the person that's governing? Am I going to be like the person that's putting people into these spaces? I would say to some people yes, to others no.
Okay. Talk that one out.
I mean, that's, I'm not gonna say, but like Nazis don't think that Jewish people, they're like, they have this like perceived like blonde hair, blue eyes, like this image
of the
Jewish,
Aryan.
Yeah, Jewish people are not that.
Right.
So I'm like, for people who are of that mindset, then it's no. Mm-hmm. But I feel like, I'm not saying the word as a whole because I don't want to generalize it, but like people from the outside looking in would be like, oh yeah, just look like a regular white person.
Right. Well, this is part of the issue, right? Is that when you had sort of this quote unquote scientific approach to race that developed, people did this to black people. They did it to everybody, where it was about facial features and height and how you speak and melanin and whatever, that defines what racial group you're in and therefore where you are on the evolutionary scale in some ways. And, Hitler did that. And, obviously you had Samuel Cartwright, who, this is a very interesting part of American history. So Samuel Cartwright, I know this because there's this mockumentary called CSA, Confederate States of America. That's a really good, weird fake documentary that presumes what would happen if the South won the Civil War. It's actually very entertaining. But it talks in this documentary about Samuel Cartwright, who coined the term drapetomania. Have you ever heard that one?
No.
Drapetomania was a medical condition that whites claimed that blacks had, enslaved blacks, that would make them want to seek freedom. That was actually like a mental illness. And they called it drapetomania, because drapto, I think, means freedom in Greek or something like that. Someone might correct me on that.
Philosophy have to apply for, the American colonies to want to be free from.
I know, right?
Rule.
Funny that.
You're craving
Funny
freedom.
that.
So, it doesn't make sense when, you actually put thought behind it, because, it immediately falls apart.
Right, it's insane.
So that means, then you're mentally ill for wanting to crave freedom, too.
Right.
And you should be under British rule, and you shouldn't mind taxing you.
Right.
But,
right, yeah.
People don't get paid to think. Some people just have ideas, and they like to talk about them.
Yep. Well, back to the thing about are Jews white. I mean, this is part of the problem when you look at videos of Israel, right? Is that, first of all, the vast majority of Israelis have some sort of Mizrahi, Middle Eastern background, right? It's not all these people who came from Eastern Europe and took over the Levant. We know that for a fact because guess what? The Holocaust killed millions and millions of quote-unquote white people, white Jews, quote-unquote, in Europe. So this idea that there was just this flood of Europeans, it's like, that doesn't mathematically shake out. And especially today, you have several generations now of people intermarrying. It was more of a taboo back in the day, like the like Europeans kind of kept to themselves, and the Mizrahi and the Sephardi people were a little bit more tribal. But now everybody's kind of a mix of different stuff. So, like, would a Mizrahi person, a Mizrahi Jew from Israel, moves to America? Are they suddenly a person of color? Right? Like, it's these things that really only work in an American way, you know what I mean? Like a lot of that stuff, because it's our history, not over there. And then also the question of white privilege, right? Like the idea of like this is like a racist thing of like Jews can be white passing, therefore you have all of the privilege, but then you can also claim the struggle, so to speak. And there's like this like anti-Semitic vibe about that too. So it's like it's a no-win situation.
You can't win for losing, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, sometimes, like, you can't. Yeah. What more is there to say?
Well, yeah, like, maybe these racial terms don't really apply. It doesn't really work, because race, privilege, class, socioeconomic, religion, these all are kind of niche things. They overlap in some ways, depending on the country you're from, but, yeah.
I mean, it depends where you are in the world.
Right. So. Yeah. All right, so this next one is from Corey DeFazio, and we know Corey because Corey is Robin's daughter, who follows us on TikTok. Corey says, I love this. He's always speaking facts. And that's you.
Thank you. You know, I try. I have to keep it real. I wouldn't say facts, but I would say highly, in some instances, educated responses.
What do you think is in terms of like, this or like any opinion you have that would relate to the podcast, what is an opinion that you strongly would say like, no, I am speaking facts?
I don't know, because I don't want to say I know like something about a specific topic that I feel like, you know, you can always learn more.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say like in any of what we talked about that I know everything, because I don't.
Right.
And I'm still learning, so I'm going to say.
Yep, that's truth. That's speaking facts right there. We're always here to learn. Okay. So another person we know actually in real life. So this is Sean Harris, who runs Bizarro Torah, says this is an adorable series, meaning you and me.
Well, thank you.
So yeah, check out Bizarro Torah on Instagram and all of the things. Matter of fact, actually, do I have the book near me? It might be too far away from me. So Bizarro Torah put out a chapbook that I really like. This is Word, Wheel, and Woe, and this is like kind of a strung together copy. But this is a storytelling series that Bizarro Torah has put out. That's like how to like tell. It's sort of like gaming, like tabletop gaming, but you don't need anything, and it's role playing and all this other stuff, and it's really like taking role playing games and turning it almost into sacred ritual. So it's pretty cool. So shout out to Bizarro Torah. I mean, we're not sponsored by Bizarro Torah, but we're shouting it out anyway. Okay, next one. So this one was about body piercings when we had that conversation, and there was the person who like wanted to get a piercing and they didn't know, and they were asking about Judaism, blah blah blah. So this person, Gnarly Carly, says, I got my nose pierced at 15 and I used the Hebrew Bible, Tanakh, as a way to convince my parents to let me do it. So do you think that religious justification is a good technique for convincing your parents to do things?
I mean, it depends on how hard...
Worked for Carly, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on, I guess, how hard they practice religiously. Because, you know, some people aren't really, like, you know, so that argument wouldn't be...
Right.
They'll be like, oh, that's great for that. But no, you're still not getting it. I mean, it really depends on who you are. Like, who your parents are. You know, alternatively, you could always wait, like, you know.
Well, I mean, I think it's apropos, because, you know...
What?
You got a nose piercing.
Yeah, it's
true.
different.
You weren't 15, right?
Yeah.
That's true. You'll notice a few little extra, you know, such and such is around the young sir. I love it. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think that a lot of times when it comes to anything that is something like a nose piercing, a body piercing, a tattoo, a weird haircut, fashion sense, whatever, there's an element of this is a new generation and this is what people do. I mean, you were telling me that you bought Jinkos, which makes me feel like the oldest person ever, because like we wore those when we were younger than you.
Exactly. I don't have Jinkos.
I feel like me wearing bell bottoms.
But I will be having Jinkos in the future.
In the near future.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a podcast fashion show and you can show everybody your Jinkos, because the demographic for this is a lot of people who are my age. So
I mean, hey, you know, what's old can be always made new.
You know, that's why Gnarly Carly used the Tanakh. She used something old to make it something new, which was getting a nose piercing at 15.
Exactly. I mean, you're right.
Yeah. All right. So here's one that's a little bit of a harsher. These get a little bit stronger. So this one is from Private Artemy, who has a watermelon emoji in their name. So I think we can already know where this is going. So this question, let's see if I can pull up. So to give a premise to this one, this person was commenting on anti-Semitism in cosplay communities. Mm. So there was a person on Reddit who liked doing cosplay and tabletop games and all the kind of nerddom, whatever type stuff. I mean that in the nicest way possible. You know, nerds are some of my favorite people. And there's a lot of anti-Semitism issues because there's a lot of like people who think of themselves as progressives, and there's like Israel stuff going on with progressives and whatever. Okay, so this person said, whining about made-up scenarios about unwarranted questions on Israel's extermination of Gaza while simultaneously promoting an explicitly Zionist organization is just peak Zionist victimhood complex. I don't exactly know what any of that means.
I don't know what that means. No, but I will say, I mean, okay, so, you know, this podcast, we do, like, you know, news and stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, we don't try to, like, make that explicitly the platform, like, specifically what we do. Like, we try to, like, you know, have some lighthearted stuff.
Yeah.
You know, as well. So, like, you know, with this person, it's like, you know, with the whole victimhood thing, I mean, no one said anything about being a victim. These are people's experiences.
Right.
You aren't, it doesn't sound like you're, like, a person of this group. You know, that's like, you know, me saying, like, as a black person, I've experienced this, that, and the third.
Sure.
That doesn't mean I'm making myself a victim. That's what I've experienced in, like, a negative way that negatively harmed me.
Right.
Like, so when you're not a part of these groups and part of these spaces, like, you trying to devalue someone else's personal experience is kind of crazy.
Right.
And this has nothing to do with Israel-Palestine. This has something to do with, like they said, how they felt unwelcome in a space as a Jewish person.
Right.
It's like if I said something that I was, you know, felt that, you know, unwanted in a space, I'm a black person. That's like, I don't know why you correlated that with that, because those are two.
Sure.
Like, you know, when you want to sew two things together that have nothing to do with each other, it's like bring it back to this thing. And that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But I just feel like, it just is, yeah. I mean, that had nothing to do with what was going on.
Right.
And don't know why you had to bring it back to that. I mean, if anything, you know, you want attention and you're playing the victim.
Right.
Like, you're playing the victim person.
Right. The commenter is playing more the victim.
Yes, you're playing the victim. This is a simple conversation about people and how they feel in certain spaces and how, you know, I mean, it feels like to me you're just a white person who's just like, you know, wanting something to be mad about.
Okay.
And something you want to be upset about and seem like you're like this person that's so compassionate and worried about issues. But like, no, like this is not talking about anything that's going on in Israel and Gaza. This is simply talking about someone's personal experience.
Right.
And how they felt uncomfortable.
They just want friends to play board games with and hang out with. Without,
This is like, yes. So I don't get the correlation. Like if we are talking about Israel, Palestine related stuff, then those comments are, you know, feel free. But when we're talking about people's personal experiences and dissecting that, you know, let's separate topics.
Well said.
Yes.
I agree 100%. Because that was the point of that person's, question that they had was like, how do I deal with this?
And you just proved that person's point very eloquently.
How about, there you go.
What is cosplay? You're trying to, you're trying to separate yourself.
Right.
But no, you bring it back to that, and that's what I'm talking about. But, when those conversations are being had, I think it's appropriate. You comment appropriately,
right?
On the topic at hand.
Yeah, maybe if you and your friends are dressing up like elves and Wolverine and, My Little Pony or whatever people do in cosplay these days, maybe Israel-Palestine isn't the topic. Like,
literally, you're not going there for that.
Yeah. Like, just play Star Wars nerd and call it a day.
It's for an escape.
Yeah,
and people, when they're safe spaces, feel like they're being, violated.
Then what's the point?
Exactly.
Then what's the point? Yeah.
I mean, this is my safe space. You can never make me feel violated, though. Remember
that. That's true. All right, so this has to do with Yeshiva University and the students that were trying to start the LGBT group. So this person's name is Elian's Green. And this person said, that was never going to happen, meaning the club. What did you think was going to happen with that? Yes, the gay community should be accepted by the Orthodox community, but we are not there yet. You can't immediately tackle the topic without pushing up from the grassroots first. And then some person whose like name is just a bunch of numbers said, no, the gay community should not be accepted by the Orthodox community. I say that as a bisexual. Balchuva is the term. It's a person who was raised like not religious and then became religious. So wait a minute. Okay, so we have a person.
Wait, I don't want to get into this person because every time someone tries to justify something with "I am a blank"
as a
response,
...
yeah. Like please, no, absolutely not. And for the person who's like, that you feel as though LGBTQ people should be accepted in Orthodox spaces, I mean. That's, create your own space.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a,
that's
this
right.
is the thing that, queer people and trans people have done.
Yeah. That's right.
They create their own spaces. If you feel like that is, please don't make yourself uncomfortable by going into a place where people don't like you.
Right.
Create your own space.
Right.
And there's space for that. If people feel like they want to go into that environment and, be who they are, which they should, and no one should punish them for that, I feel like it's really silly because, it's just a club where, other kids in your campus can feel, safe and feel like, oh, this is my community, this is my group, like any other club. I just find it, ridiculous on why, you're worried about it that bad.
Right.
Because I don't get, my whole thing is, why are you caring about people's personal life and personal business?
Sure.
If they're not hurting anyone, then I just, don't get it. But, yeah, create your own space. And for that person, the bisexual...
who's like, and this is the thing I don't get. So this person who's like 41561, blah, 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 they say that as a bisexual Balchuva, the gay community should not be accepted by the Orthodox. And then someone else, this Elian's Green person, is like, yes, they should. I'm like, I find it interesting that a bisexual person would be like, please do not accept me.
The bisexuals. One time they gay, next time they straight. That's how it goes.
Oh, man, we're going to get canceled for that.
Cancel away. Anywho.
I don't agree with them.
Okay. You don't have to, we can agree to disagree. But no, I'm just saying, you're coming in as someone who wasn't raised religiously, and then, I don't know this other person's background. They could have been raised religiously and felt like, no, the Torah, I feel like my interpretation of this, doesn't say this and believe that there should be space.
Yeah.
But please stop using what you are as justification for people, being bigots.
Yep. No more as a ...
But yes, there are spaces for you. Go occupy those spaces.
That's right.
Don't give life to spaces that, don't like you. I find that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the person who's into cosplay. Go find friends or find some Jewish cosplay friends. There are plenty of Jewish nerds on this planet. You will find your people.
Yeah, don't fight.
Yep.
Yeah, don't fight for a space. Create your own.
Create your own, that's right. Okay, this is from Miriam, who says, quote, other people interpret the Torah differently, unquote. That is a very straightforward thing. What exactly are you interpreting? And then there's a bunch of comments about that. Exactly, much of the Torah is black and white, especially about this. This is going back to the LGBT stuff, right? And then another person says, I want to point out that 2,000-year-old languages aren't clear because how you use it today is different from 2,000 years ago, and it changes regardless you believe or not. I think that means if you believe or not. Due to generational shift and slight skews, it takes intakes and biases. This person's comment's a little hard to interpret. No such thing as direct understanding, just a method to give and receive a concept. Okay, none of that made any sense to me. That was a little bizarre. Okay, but to this question of like, what is black and white in Jewish law or interpretation, and what is up for interpretation? And the answer is it's all up for interpretation. And one of my favorite quotes about this, I heard this the other day, a little bit embarrassing to say on, a G-rated platform here, but in the future, like if you fast forward 2,000 years from now, people will not know the difference between a booty call and a butt dial. So if you think about like that, so then go backwards 3,000, 2,000, 3,000 years in history and try to apply that same problem. And yeah, you're going to have issues where certain things aren't going to make sense. And in fact, several different versions, translations, I should say, not versions, but translations of the Torah that I have on this shelf back here, there are footnotes that say we don't know what this means. Like, we're doing the best we can to interpret this. Or Robert Alter's books, who I have over there, he's a literature professor, so he interprets more in a literary style. Like, what's the poetry here? What's the idioms? What's the metaphors? Other people like Rashi, who's a very famous commentator, he was more literal in the way he interpreted stuff. So yeah, no, it's all up for interpretation.
Yeah, my thing is, I mean, you wouldn't have, these religious scholars if everything was just black and white.
Right.
It's all about time period and what that could have meant in the time that was written.
Right.
Versus how we think of it today. Because it can be, you can see something that's like, oh, and think, well, oh, I can see how this relates to today.
Right.
But you have to actually think about the time period and the place in which it was in.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, like, that's the context. Like, I feel like that was a crazy thing to say. I mean, I can read, I don't even know. I could read a book, like, I don't know, The Hunger Games. Mm-hmm. The way I interpret The Hunger Games and the way other people interpret The Hunger Games. Like, have you never wrote in, an essay, like, where you have to, like, describe, like, what am I seeing? Blah, blah, blah. Or a painting. That's what art, literature is. It's how different people take, what they take from it.
Right.
I find that comment crazy. Read more. Thank you.
It's true. All right, this is our last one. This goes directly to you. This is Malachi, who says, the no shade, like the use of your phrase no shade. The no shade is hilarious. Dude, I could love to watch this show for real.
Yeah, I try. I don't, I try my best to be entertaining. I do that effortlessly though. So
effortlessly.
When you have it, like, why not be confident in it?
So confident. I want to have the confidence of a 20-year-old one day. That would just be so good for me.
Rome wasn't built in a day.
All right. Well, we have more stuff that's going to come your way. Javon's going to be going off to another adventure, so there's going to be some breaks and stuff like that, but we're going to get you as much content as we can. Thank you, Javon. Appreciate your time. Thank you to our sponsors at Darshan Yeshiva for making this content possible. Darshan Yeshiva provides beginner-level online Jewish learning, including the very popular Conversion to Judaism program, with sponsoring rabbis and students all over the world. Start your Jewish journey any place, anywhere, and anytime with our conservative, reform, reconstructionist, Jewish renewal, humanistic, and post-denominational rabbi mentors. Become the Jew you always wanted to be with Darshan Yeshiva.